Cool. So this video I'm gonna call affirmations for success. I'm gonna explain it to you from an internal aspect and how I interpret it in the simplest way to explain it to someone else. When I do say affirmations for success and synchronicities, I'm gonna explain it to you from an internal sense so that makes sense to you. So this is what I mean. Okay. So how do you make affirmations for success or synchronicities for success? Alright, cool. So what you want to do is essentially create or write down your new frequency. Now this new frequency of you, so this new version of you, which is just essentially a new frequency, so it's just a new awareness of you. So this new awareness or this new version of yourself, this version of yourself, you have to then do all things from this version of yourself, because this version of yourself has a new set of self-beliefs, a new set of self-concept, a new essentially self-consciousness, a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things, it could be new habits, it could be a new look, it could be in all aspects. However this new version of yourself acts, however you write it down and tell yourself this new version of yourself is. But the point is, by you being this new frequency and this new version of yourself, by you being this new version of yourself, because you've now written down, essentially affirmations for success are, now you've written down and you now know that this is your manifested version of yourself, or your desired reality version of yourself. So because this is the manifestation process of yourself, once you have come up with your new self-worth, your new self-concept, your new set of beliefs that now may serve you if you choose them to, once you start doing this and you internally shift to a degree where you understand that internally you are this frequency before it's proven to the world, you can then create affirmations for success, because once you have that internal certainty and somewhat detachment of it, so because you're certain that you're now this new version of yourself and act and embody, and you have the self-worth of this new version of yourself, and all actions before you do them, you operate from the new version of yourself first, consciously. So let's say it's something that you're doing, you could ask, what would that version of me do? And then because you're now doing it, you're embodying that version of yourself. And the way to, let's say, keep a manifestation on your mind is to just have a visualization of, let's say, someone you know congratulating you about it happening. And then because, like I said, you're now embodying and being that version of you and taking action from that version of you, essentially this visualization that you're rehearsing and keep playing over in your head, once you emotionally intensify with it and emotionally associate with it positively, intensely, the subconscious clings to it. Once you're acting as if you're already that version of yourself and embodying that version of yourself through all your actions and everything you do in your day-to-day life, essentially that visualization is now in the past, so your intuition leads you up to the events taking place up to it, because now the visualization is in the past and it's no longer something that you're presently chasing, because everything you have in abundance in your new frequency. So you just then have to maintain that frequency by always reminding yourself consciously that you are in that frequency. Okay, so now the main point, which is affirmations for success. So how you actually create affirmations for success is essentially, in reality, because you now know that internally you have to shift for manifestation to take place, and it's not externally. So you have to internally shift, and you can't be emotionally dependent on seeing your reality change. So because of this, you have to internally shift to the new version of yourself, then embody and know and have certainty and detach from that certainty that you are now this version of yourself. Through that, because you're not emotionally dependent on seeing your reality change, so you now understand that reality is the effect. An effect can't change an effect. So the cause has to change for the effect. The cause is you changing the frequency. So through you creating a new frequency, it creates new results, which creates a new effect, which creates a new reality. but it starts with the frequency first, which is all internal, so it starts internally first. So affirmations for success you can then create, because now you know that reality is essentially what you make it, because it starts internally. Once you have this internally manifested version of yourself, you can then set your own synchronicities and affirmations. For example, double numbers. So let's say when people see 111 or 1111 or 222 or these things. So essentially, with stuff like that, they're not necessarily a synchronicity to your subconscious unless you make it a synchronicity to your subconscious and your desired reality version of yourself, or your manifested version of yourself. So if you make that synchronicity in the manifested version of yourself, then every time you see that, you can then remind yourself, I'm in my desired reality, or I'm in my manifested version of myself, because I keep seeing it. So because you're not emotionally dependent on seeing your reality change, and you now have shifted internally, because you're now conscious of it and doing it before every decision and embodying it fully, and like I said, the visualizations are in the past, you then create your affirmations through choosing, same way you chose to now embody and be your desired reality, therefore making it already have happened in your mind internally. Same way you're doing that, you want to then create affirmations for success and synchronicities that you can then make your own like checkpoints or your own things to remind you that you're in your frequency. So you can have stuff like double numbers, or just anything that means something to you. So it don't even necessarily have to be double numbers. I'm just using that as a example that quite a lot of people use. So it's just a common example. But what I mean is, if let's say books are special to you, or I don't know, a book special to you, or a movie special to you, or there's something special to you. It don't have to be special to you, but let's just say, I don't know, something special to you to make it easier, more significant. If you then tell yourself that as the desired version of yourself, that is a synchronicity, then every time you see that and are consciously aware that you are your manifested version of yourself, you will then see that it's a synchronicity. And because it's a synchronicity, your subconscious will, because everything you have in abundance, your subconscious will then begin to get used to this. Always seeing the synchronicity will always subconsciously remind you you're in frequency. I always remind you you're in frequency. Consciously seeing the synchronicity constantly in your manifested version of yourself, the subconscious will then subconsciously, without realizing, you will always be in your desired reality or your frequency, because you'll maintain that frequency without realizing, because you'll keep seeing that synchronicity. Because you'll keep seeing that synchronicity, you'll keep reminding yourself internally that you are your desired reality, or your manifestation, or your manifested version of yourself. Because of that, you therefore are, and then again, like I said, you just have to keep embodying and acting consciously from that version of yourself, as well as having a new self, a self-worth, self-belief, self-concept. You have to know what you're visualizing and want to manifest as well. That's a key part of manifestation. You have to know exactly what you want to manifest. Write it down clearly so it makes sense what you're manifesting. Because manifestation is like ordering something off, let's say Amazon. You have to know what you're ordering, because otherwise the manifestation don't know what it's packaging in the box. So you have to know and write down clearly what you're manifesting, then visualize someone congratulating you for it in detail, and then, like I said, gain a new self-worth, self-belief, concepts, therefore creating new results, which create new actions. But it starts with the new frequency first, and then through, because you then understand that how you are internally shapes your reality, you can then create your own affirmations for success and your own synchronicities, because you understand reality bends to your will. So by you creating your synchronicities, you're creating your own reminders to remind you that you're your manifested version. So synchronicities are just little reminders that you can place, or you can label on things for yourselves to remind you that you are in your desired reality and this could be anything you want. It could be significant to make you remember more if you want. It don't have to be significant. It could be a little thing. It could be a nickname. It could be anything. Like I said, it could literally be anything. But all you have to do, and even synchronicities, you don't even have to make. But what I'm just saying is, affirmations for success are essentially synchronicities. So all they are just you creating your own synchronicities. But something's only a synchronicity if you say it is a synchronicity to your subconscious and to your desired reality. If it's not, and you don't tell yourself that, or you don't say that, then it doesn't mean nothing, because you haven't told yourself that it means something to you. Until it means something to you, until the belief is labeled to you or attached to you by you putting your belief or your value to it, until then, or until you emotionally intensify with it, and it is then a belief or an opinion formed from your subconscious or your version of yourself. Until then, the belief or the synchronicity doesn't mean nothing until you consciously make it a synchronicity or make it mean something from your desired reality or your manifested version of yourself. So yeah, that's how affirmations for success works, but it only works if you consciously choose to do it, and it's an internal process that I am explaining this from. So yeah.